What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us here today on the VSO Gun Channel. Today I wanted to kind of do a dedicated, kind of fast video, just addressing one of the issues that was recently cited in one of the videos that I did using a suppressed pistol. And it's been noted before, but I don't think I've done a dedicated video on this, so I wanted to kind of address it. And you saw a little bit of it there in that initial shooting component. If you've got a can on your Glock, gasp, a problem with the Glock, I know. And you trap the trigger to the rear, when you let the, when the gun cycles, it can get stuck right there. And typically what happens if you let off, then it recedes back into battery and can go. Now the issue with this is that it can cause a malfunction if you're shooting too quick. So I wanted to dig into why this occurs and just do a brief video on so everybody can wrap their head around this, because I don't think anybody has. So the short answer is the excess weight on the end. These guns were never designed to operate with excess weight on the end. Case in point, if I take my hearing protection and put it down here, these are Fiocchi 158 grain subs. We use them because they sound better suppressed. But if I put them in here, this gun operates just fine. No issue with what is contributing to the problem, and then we'll go to what is actually interrupting it. Because there's two things that are interrupting it. First, if we look at this, we can see that there's some play there. And if we get in there close, we can see that that slide actually binds a little bit, because this can wants to go to the ground. It's heavy. Like this actually, if you stood there and held this, by the end of the video, my wrist is probably gonna be tired. So this happens most prevalently when the gun is dirty. And this particular firearm has had approximately 2,500 rounds through it since its last cleaning. And I keep the thing running by simply squirting it full of lube because I'm too lazy to clean it. And I'm also kind of doing an eval on the Blacklist Industries kit that's in this thing, just to kind of see how it does over time. It's been excellent, and it actually mitigates this problem quite a bit, but because the thing's so filthy, 2,500 rounds suppressed is a lot without cleaning. So anyway, the two contributing factors to this is first that binding that I showed you there. So the slide literally is being dragged down and is causing binding on the rails. So that increases the frictional forces, decreases the efficiency of the system. And then if we also see here, if you look at the locking lugs there, right up here on front, for instance, that causes, when this is being drugged down like this, right, I can actually bind the gun just by going like this. As that's allowed to ride forward, you can see that it is taking the finish off. So that is also an inefficiency in the system. So that by itself is not enough to interrupt the slide or anything like that. As you saw, I had to add extra to it. But the two factors that are actually causing it to bind, besides being dirty and those two characteristics that I described that are binding, is if we get some air in here, so you guys can see through the pistol now, there's some air. If I let off of the trigger, you can see that mechanism in there moved forward, and then the slide went forward. So if we break this sucker apart real quick, we can define what that is, and you can see that that is actually the trigger bar there. So if I just drop my slide for a second, you can see that that is the interacting piece there, the offending piece. And we can know that even more by looking at it. You can see that it's nice and polished, maybe beyond polish, maybe it's actually starting to degrade a little bit. It may need replaced, but you can see it's clean on the surface and nothing else is. If we go to the complementary part on the slide, you can see there, that little round piece there, you can see a clean spot on it. And what's actually happening is, because this is all being drugged down, those two components are interacting with each other, and they are causing them to stop. Now that things back together, the last thing is we have all this mass out here on front, right? So it actually has to move all of this forward, and generally speaking, the spring tension is enough to do that when the gun isn't dirty. So if you just stay referenced on the can there for a second, notice you'll see the whole system moves forward. Well, because this weighs something, it takes extra to get it there. Plus you got to remember it's also got to put a cartridge in, so there's interactions with the cartridge going into the breech and all that sort of stuff. So all of that combined causes the Glock to bind up a little bit when you've got a can on the end of it. So that's just something that you guys should have in mind when you're talking about suppressing especially your Glocks. Again, it may happen in other striker fire pistols, but I have not seen it. If you have seen it, please remark down below. I want to say special thanks to Sportsman's Guide for keeping me warm here today. It's about 30 degrees, so it's not super cold, but they provided this nice little jacket for me. It's like a fleece, but it's also got a membrane in it. We're supposed to get some freezing rain here later today, but 30 degrees on mid-February, I will take it. I have a link in the description box down below. If you guys want to know more about this particular jacket, you can hop over to Sportsman's Guide and see the specs on it. So thank you guys for joining us here today on the VSO Gun Channel, and that is a quick synopsis of what is going on inside your Glock when it's not operating properly with a suppressor on the end of it. Simply, guys, keep her clean. That's the best way to do it, is to keep them clean and they will run. However, you have to remember that with a can on the end of it, it is going to dirty much more rapidly than without one.